Welcome to Sharika Talks, Unraveling the Truth, a journalist's quest. Subscribe for the truth.
Chapter 17, Whispers Beneath the Stone. Sharika was deep in an online rabbit hole of camera gear, comparing mirrorless bodies, action cams, telephoto lenses, and audio kits. Her search wasn't just for any camera. It had to be the camera. Light, discreet, reliable in motion-heavy environments, and future-ready. She recalled the chaos of Gorakhpur, the gunfire, the blur of footsteps. Her trembling offer, "I can shoot on my iPhone," and the stillness in Riaz's response. He had reached into his bag and handed her a compact DJI action camera with a magnetic gimbal. "Frame like you mean it," he'd whispered, placing it in her palm. "Track with your breath, trust the lens." That moment rewrote something inside her. The iPhone had its strengths: excellent processing, computational depth, incredible in daylight. But its limits surfaced during chaos. This time, the situation would demand speed, low-light adaptability, and stealth. Her work could not falter because her tools failed. The day before, she texted Riaz, "I'm about to start a documentary project. Needs both wide-angle and long-range shots, sound clarity, maybe concealed angles too. Can you guide me on the camera setup?" Riaz had responded with his trademark minimalism. "If money's not a problem, go for the Sony FX3 with a compact telephoto lens and a wide-angle lens. It's future-proof, beginner-friendly. Add a wireless directional mic, small, light, and clean sound. For concealed shoots, your iPhone will do. But remember this, choose angles like you're painting a truth, not just capturing a scene. ISO isn't a number, it's a feeling. Adjust it like you're breathing. Choose lenses like you're choosing your voice. Wide when you're lost, tight when you're hunting." She had written down every word. For Sharika, money wasn't an issue, but she was never careless with it. On her 18th birthday, her grandfather had transferred 10 million rupees into her savings account and whispered, "This is pocket money. The rest is yours when you need it. You are my only heir." Any other girl might have blown that fortune on cosmetics, designer clothes, maybe a new car or scooter. But not Sharika. Throughout her college life, she rode her old bicycle or caught the bus. She wore street-bought clothes, never wore makeup, and her indulgences were minimal: books, gadgets, and good walking shoes. Even with a modest 4% interest, the 10 million had grown to 11.2 million in 4 years. And now she had her first real earnings, 30,000, as a research intern on Shadow Tears, the BBC documentary. She purchased the camera, a good set of lenses, and a directional mic kit. Her capstone project proposal was nearly complete. Initially, she had considered doing it on Deep Enterprises, a study of its financial growth and influence. She even had Sachin's contact, though she had never used it beyond a Google search. But then Sheila's words echoed in her memory. Anonymity is the shield of investigative journalism. If she pursued that route, she might cross paths with Sachin. He might recognize her. Sharika glanced at her reflection. The pimples had subsided, her body had thinned further over the past year, and her hair, uncut for months, now hung more than a foot long, a thick ponytail falling along her spine. Something in her gut said he wouldn't recognize her now. From what she found, that kind of fight, the one he'd intervened in on that train, was probably routine for him. And besides, he'd met her only once, a brief exchange in a train, just another face. Still, she shelved that documentary idea. Instead, she turned to the temples, the places Sachin had visited. Their forgotten dynasties, hoarded treasures, architectural riddles. Was Deep Enterprises into archaeology? Or was Sachin robbing the past? If it were gold, she thought, how could he move it, tons of it, without being caught? Even with help, how would the logistics work? Were there secret tunnels? Or was he after something rarer than gold? Diamonds, perhaps. India once had the Koh-i-Noor. Maybe temples still held gems of equal mythic value. She needed answers. Choosing this subject would let her investigate discreetly without leaving the academic track. She also hoped to access temple CCTV footage, but she didn't expect easy cooperation. "I wish I were a hacker like Lisbeth Salander," she muttered, picking up her phone and tapping a name, Nandu. She smiled at the memory. He had been her senior at Maharaja's College, a second-year computer science student who, on her very first day, tried to rag her. He asked her to dance before a group. She simply replied that she was a first-year postgraduate student and made him dance instead. The next day, upon learning the truth, he attempted to intimidate her by cutting her hair with scissors. Her reflex was a punch, straight to his lip. Seeing his own blood, Nandu fainted. He had a deep fear of it. That bizarre start gave way to a lasting friendship. Nandu was never a bad guy, just a well-meaning, awkward boy desperate to impress peers. In Sharika's second year, he even confessed his love to her. She had laughed for minutes, not out of cruelty, but because it felt impossible. Her only love was her career. She told him her childhood crush had been Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Even Nandu had to laugh. That made rejection painless. He answered on the third ring. "Sherlock is still awake? Have you ever heard of something called sleep? Anyway, what's up?" She laughed. "Nandu, need your help. Suppose I wanted to check CCTV footage from inside some temples, purely for academic research. Need it for my final project." He chuckled, half asleep. "What film did you just finish? The girl with the temple tattoo?" Sharika sighed. "Be serious, man. If someone had to, hypothetically, access temple surveillance, how would it even work?" Nandu yawned, now amused. "We'd need physical access to their local server. It's probably buried under 5 locked doors and a priest's blessing. Not gonna happen from a laptop." "Still, can we try something?" she asked softly. Nandu paused, sensing her seriousness. "Tell you what, let me know when you visit the site. I'll come too. We'll see if there's anything we can do. No promises." Sharika smiled. "Deal." She was careful, of course. She never mentioned Sachin, not even Deep Enterprises. Nandu worked now at Infosys in Thiruvananthapuram, handling network penetration tests, server architecture, and threat simulation reports. His days were full of firewalls and false alarms, but his voice still carried that same mischievous spark, the reckless humor of a boy who once fainted at the sight of his own blood. So she decided to begin her project from Padmanabhaswamy Temple. By 3:15 a.m., October 24th, her project proposal was done. She named it Whispers Beneath Stone: The Untold Histories of India. It was sharp, well-referenced, deeply researched, more precise than her classmates' proposals, despite her late start. She barely slept these past 2 weeks, but that was Sharika. When obsessed, she could forget food, sleep, even the sun. She planned to sleep finally, but couldn't resist one last check. Sachin's smart tag still showed no signal. No data. Still black. Ever since he crossed Lapchala, he had disappeared into digital silence. She stared at his pinned photo on her wall. "Where are you?" she whispered. Then she climbed into bed and pulled the blanket over her tired limbs. "What are you doing there?" Meanwhile, just 20 kilometers away, another woman was wide awake, thinking of Sachin too. Sukanya had just arrived home, her Delhi mansion wrapped in velvet darkness. She parked the BMW i7 in silence and stepped into the marbled foyer, barefoot to not wake her daughter. The house smelled of lilies and sandalwood, the way she liked it. Elegant, cold, and controlled. She tiptoed into the master bedroom and found her daughter Kingini fast asleep beside her husband Rohandev. Sukanya slid into the sheets and picked up her phone. Still no messages. Still no missed calls. This time, at least, Sachin had told her what he was going to do. She remembered the last time he had gone completely black, only to reappear months later with a tale that shook her to her core. He had met a man named Rocky. Learning who he really was chilled her. What disturbed her more was what Rocky did, his hidden empire, his control over shadows. And the final blow, Sachin wanted Deep Enterprises to fund them. Illegal. Inhuman. She had refused, initially, but Sachin's words echoed. It's for the greater good, a small sacrifice for something larger. She had to agree. Sachin had given her a contact, but warned never to use it. If she needed anything, she must go through Kailash Satyajit. The Nobel laureate was the only link permitted. Ragi's existence had to remain buried. Everything happening in those remote Nepali villages was cloaked by the face of the Satyajit Foundation. She would never be allowed to contact Rocky directly, only through Kailash. And even Kailash was amused and skeptical when he realized Sachin had shared Rocky's contact. He shares everything with you? Don't worry, Sukanya had replied. You can trust me. Rocky's existence should never get out until he decides otherwise. Rocky's empire, its trafficking routes, its ruthless methods, Sukanya detested all of it. But still, she obeyed. For Sachin, her bond with him was never romantic. Both were too broken to love. They found in each other the only kinship they'd ever known, brother and sister by pain, not by blood, and friends by heart. She knew Sachin's scars. She knew his heart. She knew Deepa was the only woman he had ever loved and would ever love, and Deepa would never return that love. Sachin fooled himself until the day of her marriage. After that, something in him cracked. When he returned, he was a different man, colder, focused, like fire forged into a blade. She is the only one he shares everything with. Even though she doesn't understand half of what he says, she always listens. And records. He led a dozen lives now. To children, he was the cheerful karate teacher who appeared just a few times a year. To underworlds, he was a ghost with power. To the country, he was the biggest criminal no one ever knew existed, just like Rocky. To Sukanya, he was all those and more, and she alone knew them all. 3 weeks ago, she had watched a BBC documentary by Sheila Bhatia. It shook her again. She'd met Sheila several times, even at meetings with the Prime Minister. She knew Kailash wouldn't blow the cover. But Sheila was a fox. She turned her head. Kingini, age 4, held her stuffed panda, her soft breath like the rhythm of a tide. On the other side, Rohan lay deep in sleep, unaware of the battles his wife fought behind her eyes. Sukanya looked at her phone one last time. Sachin's WhatsApp DP was still the same, a photo of him holding Kingini, both smiling under a summer tree. She sighed and placed the phone down. She closed her eyes, but sleep was far. In her mind danced the many faces of Sachin, the energetic teacher, frantic driver, the broken lover, the silent fighter, the ghost with bloodied hands, the seeker of truths no one dared speak, and the man who wore 1,000 masks, yet had no one to remove them for. End of chapter.
Thank you for watching Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest. Subscribe to stay updated on Sharika's journey. Stay tuned for the next part.
Disclaimer. Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest is a work of fiction. The experiences, ideas, and theories presented by the characters, including the books they write, are purely fictional and do not reflect real-world events, beliefs, or ideologies. While some incidents and characters may be inspired by real-world scenarios, they are entirely fictionalized for storytelling purposes. The author does not endorse or share the viewpoints expressed by any character in this novel. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or real events is purely coincidental. Viewer discretion is advised.